それはレバヤさんニュースだ。デセントライズだ。逃げろ。誰でも音できる。誰でもスキーを稼げる。ガバナンスまである。中集権のメディアはもう終わりだ。
真相から立ち上るインクと真実がぶつかる。レバヤさんニュース開かれるに嘘はない。読んで書いて氷結しろ。力はみんなのもの。いい霞をたたえろ。ニュースは君のものだ。
レバヤさんニュース。レバヤさんニュース。
Hello everyone, what's up? Welcome to Leviathan News, another stream. We're here on Wednesday, it's February 4th. I'm the advisor, I will be your host for this one. And I'm very excited to be on for the first time with Lorenzo, aka Zero Lore, from USDT Zero. That's how I should say it? USDT Zero? Or USDT?
Yeah, that's correct. That works like a charm.
USDT Zero, which is actually I saw it on the bio, the unifying layer or the unifying protocol for all of Tether's assets across all blockchains?
Correct, yes. So we are the unified liquidity layer for Tether assets. That basically means that we act as an interoperability layer built on top of Tether tokens. We are the largest one in the world to do what we do. We move on average $300-400 million between our supported networks every day.
That's insane, and let's get into it in a minute. First of all, man, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks to Arcos for the amazing video contribution with the new intro. And of course, please go to our channels on X, Leviathan_news, on our YouTube. Give the video a like, a thumbs up, whatever. Let's push it through. I'm pretty sure the links have already generated on X as well. And leave a comment. Let us know if you're there. Let me know what I should ask Lorenzo while we're on here. And please share the video all around. Before we get started, let me present this week's SQUID Pass holders. Let me just share the screen here. As you guys know, we have our auction systems where we offer all kinds of stuff, and mostly like the most consistent one is the ad slots for our pinned posts on our Telegram and X. And this week's winner are actually Bounce.Tech. Let's check them out with their new pinned posts. So on X, you can find them at Bounce.Tech. What if every time it's over, you could always bounce back? Bounce.Tech, private beta, now live on Hyperliquid. Check them out at Bounce.Tech. Leveraged tokens for all of DeFi. Private beta is live now. Thank you so much, guys, for choosing Leviathan News to share your message about the private beta. And let's just go to the website for just a second as well. Can go on here, connect your wallet. It's on Hyperliquid. Leverage tokens for all of finance. Actually looking forward to talking to them and having them on for a show pretty soon as well, hopefully. So shout out everyone. And again, thank you for getting the SQUID Pass. And remember, guys, another auction will come up soon. And let's try to pitch it to USDT Zero now as well. One. But before we do that, Lorenzo, first of all, you told me that you watched the show and you're familiar with the channel, with Leviathan News, which was a compliment for us, for me personally. And so much respect. Like I told you, I think that when a founder of a project, when builders from the space tell us that they actually watch Leviathan news, it's one of the biggest compliments and reinforcements to actually know that we're doing something here. We're not a huge channel, but we're very proud of the fact that those who do watch our show and consume our content are actually like actual DeFi people, actual builders in the space, people from the industry. We get a lot of respect from people who really know about what the whole space is about, which for us is a huge honor as well. And the topic actually came up because, I've been wanting to talk to you for a while now. I saw that you guys are, just like an off-topic question for a second. How big is USDT Zero right now? Like, what's the market cap of USDT Zero?
4.3 billion today, 4.33 billion today. We are the fourth largest holders of USDT on Ethereum mainnet with our lockbox, which is the token that holds all of the USDT that back USDT Zero. The only three addresses that are larger than us are all owned by Binance, and we are the third largest entity in the world, single entity owning USDT. So you have Binance, OKX, and then there's us. So we are thankfully pretty big, I have to say. That's definitely not all of our merits. It's actually a big part of it comes because of the chains and our partners that decide to build on top of USDT Zero. But yeah, we are around 4.4. Our highest market cap happened when Plasma launched. We crossed slightly above 7.8 billion, if I remember correctly. And now with the market downtrend, we're going a little bit closer to the 4.3, 4.5. However, I would say that part of our job is to remove friction, to move USDT between networks, which means that it's very easy to get into our network, but it's also equally easy to get out. And if you're getting out of USDT Zero, sometimes you're just holding your USDT on Ethereum mainnet, right? So market cap is not the best way to actually see the total growing adoption of USDT Zero. I would say that volumes and the amount of USDT being moved between chains is actually what's really what really has been skyrocketing in the last 6 months or so. We went from moving less than $1 million every day when we launched back in January 2025 to now consistently closing more than $250 million every day moved between our supported networks. So it's been really insane, and we're very, very happy and lucky to be able to work on something like this.
That's very impressive, first of all, and it's very important that you do mention the fact that the best way to, in the sense of what you guys are doing and how significant the product is the volume rather than the market cap. But I specifically asked about the market cap because, if, for example, I go to DeFi Llama now on the stablecoin page, which is, in my opinion, one of the most important pages for any kind of info in the industry.
Very much agreed.
For several reasons. First of all, I think that the total stablecoin market cap, as the shout out to Captain Rational, he always says like that, if you want a testament to how much actual money is in the ecosystem, probably stablecoin market cap is what you should be looking at, because all these other metrics of our crypto tokens, often they are not exactly stable or steady, let's say. Like you can look at the industry and think that there's $1 trillion there, but a few days afterwards, there can be like 700 billion. So you can ask yourself, where did 300 billion go? But the 300 billion, were they even there to begin with? Is actually the question. And the fact is that it's not exactly so. With stablecoin, it's actually kind of different. So that's like the first metric you get. And obviously the second thing I think most people will notice is the USDT dominance. Still, 60% of stablecoins are actually USDT. And like I told you earlier, with whenever I want to do any kind of transaction involving stablecoins in my side of the world, in Israel, for example, but I think it's basically true in most of the world outside of the US.
In Europe.
Europe, I'm not really that familiar. Maybe you can elaborate on it.
That's not really our target market, I would say, especially with USDT being non-MiCA compliant.
Okay.
Europe and the US are still focused on other assets, but all the rest of the world is basically running on USDT, right?
Definitely. Like people are only willing to accept USDT here. Like if I want to do a transaction involving stablecoin. By the way, sorry?
That's very good. I like the people that only accept USDT.
It's actually the reality. Like I told you earlier, I had on the Trustless Force. They were also the SQUID Pass holders last week, and that's actually an initiative started by Michael from Liquidity. Shout out, Michael. Had a very good time, like getting to know him in South America back in November, and we talked about it several times. And they were just on the show, and it was him from Liquidity, Cyril from Protocol Effects, shout out to them as well, Martin from Curve, again, shout out. And there's a whole niche of these decentralized stable coins calling for treasury diversification, and calling for the fact that when you have actual decentralized stablecoins that are generated from on-chain collateral, in a way it pumps all our bags, and at least regarding centralization risks, they mitigate them. Obviously, there are other risks involved for one to consider, but in the long run, according to the ethos of decentralization and all that, I do understand that movement, and I'm very much a part of it. We also had Polaris on last week, shout out Token Bryce, and Robert, which is also going to be a very decentralized way of protocol and operating system, actually, of creating stablecoins. But again, when we go back to reality, if I actually want to do something with the funds that I have and earn from crypto sometimes, I'm going to USDT. At some point at the zero in my own life. And I'm actually very curious to your point of view on that. And maybe you can, even before we get into the depths of USDT zero itself and how it facilitates USDT itself and how it helps users, I'm very curious about your own journey, first of all, as to, from someone who's very much into a DeFi guy, like basically all of us, what actually made you get into become starting to do what you do now, which is basically pushing USDT zero forward and USDT itself?
Yeah, so thank you for the nice question. It's very complex. I had a pretty long journey. So during my second year in university, I started getting very, very interested with DeFi as a whole, right? I started learning about how CDP protocols worked. I remember the first videos that were sketched out on those YouTube channels about how AMMs work, liquidity pools, and so on and so forth. And I fell completely in love with the industry. I think I'm a DeFi guy. I still like to call myself a DeFi guy because I think there's very few things in the world that can make such a big impact as DeFi is. I think DeFi is one of the coolest things. It democratizes access to financial markets and financial instruments. It just builds more resilient systems on average than anything else. I'm a big fan of Curve. I've been working in and out of the Curve ecosystem for a long time now. Very familiar with everything. I think Service USD is a very cool product myself. And I am madly in love personally with decentralized stablecoin. I think decentralized stablecoins are one of the most interesting areas of the industry. I think sooner or later we will need to have one large decentralized stablecoin that can manage to achieve kind of the how can you say to fix the stablecoin trifecta, right? Like growth, decentralization, and resiliency. And so far, I'm a huge fan of Liquidity V1. I think Liquidity V1 was one of the most elegant products ever. I think when USDC depegged back in 2022, the only two stablecoins that were trading above peg were Liquidity, LUSD, and USDT, because people fled to safety, basically. And they fled to something that was fully on-chain and fully resilient. So I've been working in and out of DeFi literally for 6 years now, very, very familiar with the entirety of the DeFi protocols and everything of the sort. But at one point in my life, I kind of realized that what we're building in DeFi is very, very cool. But then there is a problem, which is the scalability issue. Like we're building something in kind of a sandbox, but we're not going to be able to bring those tools to the next 100, 200, 300, 400 million people until we solve a bunch of UX and UX problems, a bunch of decentralization problems. But ultimately, you need distribution, you need scale, and you need someone that conquered the traditional or more CeFi infrastructures already, and that now is looking into betting on DeFi. So the first thing I ever done actually with Tether was this protocol called Alloy, which is a CDP-backed stablecoin backed only by one collateral, Tether Gold. Now, it is not DeFi in the way I personally view DeFi, because it's still something that to access, you need to be KYC'd and you need to get whitelisted, but it is fully on-chain. So you can go on the alloy.tether.to page, deposit some XAUT and mint some Alloy USDT. Now, Alloy USDT is very, very small because obviously there are other priorities first, but it's one of the examples that you can take on-chain finance and apply it to some behemoth of this industry and still achieve products that are resilient and work. And the idea out of all of it came to myself and my co-founders when we were looking at what happened to Circle, and we actually took inspiration from Liquidity. We were like, well, Liquidity is amazing, but it cannot scale fast enough because it's using Ethereum as collateral. What if we were to give something that takes the best possible collateral in the world, which is gold, and we built a system that is very, very similar? And that's how Alloy was born. And while we were doing that, we basically realized that there was something that had more inefficiencies and something that we really needed to fix to be able to bring USDT to the next 100, 200, 300 million people, but at the same time to DeFi as a whole, which was the interoperability aspect of Tether tokens. Before USDT 0, there was only two ways you could get USDT on your chain. You either get a native deployment, which was the old standard, which works like a charm. It's the holy grail for any ecosystem, but it has a big problem, which is that it's not natively interoperable between chains. If I have USDT on Aptos, my only way to get USDT on Aptos is either mint them directly with Tether, which is quite challenging, or withdraw them from a centralized exchange. But then those centralized exchange would have problem in rebalancing their treasuries between networks. And that was basically true to the power of 100 when you were looking at the DeFi market caps and the DeFi protocols, right? If it costs me 30 bips to move USDT between chain A and chain B because I need liquidity pools, because the deployment is a native deployment, I'm not going to be able to farm it properly. I'm not going to be able to build resilient liquidation engines or anything of the sort. So this was one way of getting USDT. The other way was getting bridged versions. So versions that are specific to a single network, specific to a single application, and that work fine, but at the same time lack the law enforcement compliance point, and they lack, they pretty much give a pretty bad UX to users as a whole, right? Because before USDT 0, if I had to send my money from Arbitrum to Polygon, for example, I had to first understand how the Arbitrum bridge work, bring it back, wait 7 days, and then send it over to Polygon. That's pretty bad UX if you're trying to make the system that we're building for the next 100, 200, 300 million people, right? So we looked at this problem and we realized that there was a desperate need for an interoperable version of Tether that was able to basically tick all those boxes. We wanted something that was fully permissionless so that anyone could use by simply interacting with our contracts. We wanted something that was completely free to use because USDT 0 does not charge any fee, because we don't think charging users is a correct business model, right? Like Tether is the mathematical proof of it. They built something, they never charge a cent to the user, and yet they built the biggest business in all of crypto, arguably. So we wanted something free, we wanted something permissionless, and we wanted something that had no limitation of size. That you could move $1 or you could move $1 billion in one go without any problems. So we sat down with a bunch of interoperability protocol, and then we decided to basically go with the layer 0 folks, which we've been known for a while. We love the layer 0 guys, they're amazing. And we decided to build this new interoperability standard for Tether assets called USDT 0, built on the OFT product that layer 0 developed. We spent a lot of money in security audits, and we're very paranoid, obviously, on the security aspect of the whole thing. But we launched it in January 2025 on Inc, Kraken's chain. We started seeing a lot of traction. We started seeing a lot of people starting moving money in and out. And then around a month later, Tether gave us ownership of the contract on Arbitrum. So they took 1.8 billion worth of USDT, and they decided to give it over to us so that we could upgrade it to the USDT 0 standard. And in a span of I think it was 7 days, we managed to turn every single USDT, bridged USDT that was living on Arbitrum into USDT 0. And from there on, we just started working with more and more protocols that realized that if you have this new wave of onboarding capital into your ecosystem, it's just so much easier and so much synergetically for your whole suite of products, effectively, right? So we launched on Arbitrum, we launched on other 18 networks, including Plasma. We took over the deployment on Polygon. We deployed on Monad, we deployed on Stable, we deployed on Flare, and again, other 18 partners that I should not mention all, even though they would like me to mention them all. And we've managed to build this unified liquidity layer that sits on top of chains, where a user no longer has to worry how he can go from Corn to Monad. They can just worry about having their USDT, interacting with our smart contracts, and then just move them over. It's not going to cost them a cent. It's going to be fully permissionless, and it's going to be just a very, very smooth UX. So we've done that, and 12 months later, we're now looking at the largest single asset interoperability network in the world. We're looking at between, as I was saying, $250 to $500 million moved every day. I think our all-time high was like $2.8 billion moved in 24 hours. And every day that goes by, more centralized exchanges are accepting USDT zero tokens, more hedge funds are using our railways, more payment providers are integrating what we've built. And we're just blown away by the amount of adoption and acceptance that we've seen from the industry. So it's been fun. It's been very, very nice. And I'm very happy to answer any questions about that. Or I think the way USDT zero works is very elegant. We just have one contract on Ethereum mainnet called the USDT zero lockbox. Users deposit native USDT there, and they get USDT zero on the destination chain. And then once it gets into the USDT zero network, it's fully interoperable via burn and mint mechanism. We are law enforcement compliant, which means that we freeze, we blacklist, and we recover assets in the same way as any other Tether deployment does. We have our own compliance department that if it's reached out by law enforcement agency, can freeze, can blacklist, and can save protocols from hacks most of the times. So it's been a very big learning experience, but it's also been very, very fun. And we really hope to be able to keep doing this for a long time to basically allow everyone to have access to the most widely used stablecoin in the world. I cannot hear you, muted.
I was just saying, these were such great few minutes of really describing what you guys, like your own journey and what you guys do, and the bird's eye perspective on it and the importance of it. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for giving us such an elaborated answer. So basically you say that you guys just decided to create it, and then Tether like approached you and saw that like, okay, these guys are doing something useful for us. Let's actually start leveraging on what they do. Because if you would made me guess, I would say that this is like something that Tether themselves initiated in order to have a go-to-market strategy for other blockchains.
We've always been very, very close to Tether management, Paolo, Giancarlo, and the rest of the people that actually built Tether. So when we had this idea, as I said, we had it while we were already working with them, and we actually took part in the technological aspect of some of the native deployments of USDT, and that's actually when we really saw that there was a need for some kind of version of Tether that was allowing users to move them between chains on their own. So I would like to say it was all our idea, but the Tether folks really, really guided us through this process, and they really gave us super valuable feedbacks on what we were building. We would never be able to be where we are right now without all of the guidance that Tether, Paolo, and the rest of the team gave us, and the support the Tether ecosystem and Tether BD and Tether expansion and all of those other departments within this big behemoth that Tether are giving towards us. So we are an ecosystem project. We're still separate from Tether, but we have full open line of communications, and especially in the last 6 months, and especially because of the success that the protocols that are, the chains that are accepting USDT zero had, that brought us very, very closely. So we work very much in tandem with the whole Tether team, and also Tether Gold for that matters. We also are basically the official expansion strategy for Tether Gold assets. I don't know if you're familiar with Tether Gold. I would highly recommend anyone that hasn't looked into Tether Gold to look into Tether Gold. It's one of my favorite stablecoins in the world. But Tether Gold basically expands to all of the networks via our standard. It's like on Ton, Solana, Avalanche, and so on and so forth, all via XAUT0.
Yeah, actually, I am familiar with Tether Gold because we mentioned Europe earlier, and the fact that like I personally I've started working with Frankencoin, the Swiss franc stablecoin project a few months ago. And in Europe, by the way, which is by the way Swiss compliant, like with MiCA and all that kind of stuff. So like ZCHF, the Swiss franc stablecoin, is not only a superior store of value; it's also ready to use for Europe. So in a way,
I'm in Switzerland. I hold francs. I'm in Switzerland, so I very much agree with that.
You're definitely one of the target audiences there, and like why would they actually need stable coins? I mean,
We do.
not USD stable coins over there, and I can relate to what you said back then, that USDT, like the natural markets for USDT are actually not the US, which is USDC owned, it seems, from afar, and Europe, which is, in its own discussion of whether it should hold euros or, in my opinion, it should hold Swiss francs. But the rest of the world, with like all the, import, export, whatever, like people actually want USDT. But I am familiar, just a second, with Tether Gold because it was just onboarded together with Pax G actually as collateral to be able to mint Frankencoins, ZCHF, against it. So it's actually very useful. And if I understand correctly, you guys have like a version of just like you have like a version of the USDT dollar itself that someone can take basically whatever chain they want. The same can be done with other Tether assets, which I believe the main one after the stable gold one.
Yeah, the largest, other than USDT, the largest one is still Tether Gold. I wish I could share some of the stuff that we're working on certain other stablecoins, but we are. Yeah, my marketing and legal team would kill me if I do, so I'll shut up. But we are actively working on all Tether assets because all of those assets need a version to make it interoperable. The cool thing about Tether Gold and XAUT0 though is that there's only one standard outside of Ethereum mainnet for Tether Gold tokens, and that's XAUT0, which effectively means that you no longer have to worry, if I have to go to this particular chain, maybe it's not USDT0, maybe it's something else. It's only all XAUT0, which means that you can move it in a fully interoperable fashion between all of your networks. You can go from Solana to Ton, from Ton to Avalanche, from Avalanche to Inca, and you can basically do whatever you want. Now, the adoption of that is slightly lower, meaning that crypto is only now realizing how important gold is for our market and for our economy.
Yes.
And our job is just to this is what I usually say, we're laying down those railways. We think that in the next 3 to 5 years, the amount of people that need gold on chain is going to be humongous. And when that demand comes, we have a responsibility to be ready as an industry. We need decentralized liquidity, TVL that allows people to buy it in a fully decentralized and permissionless manner. We need liquidators of last resort. We need the interoperability aspect, which we're taking care of. We need integration, like what Aave did, to accept XAUT as collateral, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. And we're just very excited to be able to play our part. And we really believe that in the next 3 to 5 years, the growth of Tether Gold will be something that will melt faces and that will really redefine the way we see our industry. Because I'm a huge gold bug. I'm 3 things. I'm a DeFi guy, I'm a huge Bitcoiner, and I'm a huge gold bug. I think gold is the best possible way to store your money. I try to hold as much gold as I can via XAUT versus any other fiat currencies or anything of the sort. And yeah, we're just very, very happy to be able to contribute to this shift. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun with Tether Gold in the next few years, because when you meet the oldest store of value with one of the coolest financial and freedom technology in the world, which is the blockchain, you get something potentially amazing. And we're very happy to be able to play our part in that.
What is the ticker for the
Tether Gold?
Yeah, XAUT0.
So there is XAUT, and then there is XAUT0. The market cap of XAUT is around 2.8 billion. It's been growing quite a lot, fueled by the growth of gold. It obviously takes some time to explain the industry what this asset is and so on and so forth. But we have never seen so much demand from all of our partners as in the last month and a half.
Well,
I think it's really a product out of it.
metals are making a lot of headlines.
Tether as a whole, they hold a lot of gold in the reserves. I think they own around 140 tons of gold, which is a huge number. Physically, it's not that big, but it's pretty much, it's like the 19th largest entity in the world holding gold. Versus
where can you
nation
see
banks.
this kind of data, by the way? Like, is there any way to track it?
So the total amount of gold backing USDT, you can find it in the transparency reports that Tether provides. And this 140 ton metric was I mean, it made the headlines a couple of weeks ago because I think Paolo had an interview and he basically explained that they like scarce assets, as everybody should. So they're betting heavy on Bitcoin, they're betting heavy on gold. And he's definitely going to be able to pitch it way better than I do on why gold is so important. But
I should actually now use the connection with you to try to get Paolo on the show at some point.
If I could get you Paolo on the show, I can assure you I would be way more powerful than what I am. The man is very busy for very good reasons, I would say. Especially now with the USDT expansion also, it's really a period where all of Tether is running at full speed.
Definitely. Well, I'll keep just pinging him on X and hoping that at some point he notices. We have about I think 20 minutes or so left, and I want to touch on a few other topics with you as well. Let's start with actually it's a bit of a dumb question, but I actually also think that probably I'm not the only one dumb enough to ask it. Like,
definitely not.
Why should people? Why is it actually needed? You know what I mean? Like, why do we actually need USDT 0 and all these other, and to have it on all these other blockchains? Other than the fact that you just mentioned in your intro, that it facilitates a lot of stuff. It's much easier to use it and to go to Arbitrum. But my question is kind of dumber than that. It's like, why would someone even need to go to Arbitrum? I don't know if you've noticed the recent post by Vitalik about his layer 2s. In this new reality, what does it actually mean for USDT 0? How important is it? How important are layer 2s at all? And why do we actually need all that? And why is it still a key infrastructure in your mind that you're willing to put so much of your energy and actually build it?
So, very good question. Let's start by setting the stage. More than 95% of all of the USDT in existence are on two chains, Tron and Ethereum mainnet. Everything else, Solana, Avalanche, Plasma, Arbitrum, Polygon, has just a fraction of those amounts. We kind of remove ourselves from the discussion, right? Our position is we do not know. We have our opinions, but we don't really believe that the world is going to run on a single chain. We think we're likely going to go towards a world where multiple chains will coexist, and there needs to be a way for giving the same tools to each one of those chains to let the best chain win, effectively, right? May it be technologically, some are technologically better, some are distributionally better, some of them are just marketing plays that really know what they're doing, and they manage to get a lot of traction and a lot of eyes on. Some of them know how to close some amazing partnerships. The Plasma folks, Plasma is not only that, but Plasma is amazing at closing big partnerships with large distribution networks. And our position is that no matter what you're building in crypto in general, and no matter if you are a layer 2, a layer 1, a standalone chain, proof of stake, proof of work, we don't really care about it. We think you need a version to get access to the largest stablecoin in the world and the third largest asset in the world. For obviously talking about crypto, which is USDT. Which to them, so basically, I don't know why we need all of this, but it's pretty clear that for the last 8 years, that's what our industry has been doing, right? Like, yes, there have been decentralized protocols that are very important, but some of the largest innovations, some of the largest announcements, and the largest ripple wave effects have been created by chains launching. So if the industry and the market demands more chain, we're not going to go against it. We're just going to tell them, do you want to all be playing with the same tools? Because if you all get the same tools, the best chain really does win. And when you give our technology to a chain that really knows what they're doing, then you get astonishingly important growth stories. I keep going back to Plasma because Plasma is amazing. Plasma is a chain that was purposely built only for Tether, only for USDT. And they managed to be the fastest growing USDT chain in history, the fastest growing USDT zero chain in history, and a chain that is just a vehicle for people to tap into the USDT ecosystem and the USDT distribution channels. Now, I do not know if there's going to be another Plasma. I do not know if there's going to be another Ethereum. I do not know if there's going to be another Tron. But what I do know is that you cannot be successful as a chain without USDT. There's very few examples in history of chains that have been wildly successful without having an asset like USDT on. And if you look at why they don't have that asset, it's probably because they're betting on some other competitor or anything of the sort. And some of them have been betting heavily on another centralized stablecoin for trading reasons, and I think that's taking them back. I think that's, if you are forcing your users to use just one kind of stablecoins, you're effectively reducing the amount of growth that you could potentially get. So our position has been always very simple and very clear, which was, if the industry wants more chains, we'll give them more USDT zero, because even if one of them is the new Tron, even if one of them is the new Ethereum, they will need USDT on. And our job is to give them the best possible version of USDT that they can do, and the one that creates the least amount of friction for their own users.
That's another great answer. Thank you so much for it. Another thing I want to touch on is, like, okay, you say that you aren't like actually charging anything for, like, there's no fees for the users for going from USDT to USDT zero. So I'm actually curious, how do you guys make money? Like, what's the business model of USDT zero, and how is it profitable for USDT zero?
One tiny specification, maybe because I was a little bit wrong in explaining it. USDT zero networks, they charge no fees. So you can go Arbitrum, Polygon, and pay zero. But we do also serve with another one of our product called the Legacy Mesh, some old native USDT deployments that still need some kind of interoperability. And in that case, we manage a more traditional bridging infrastructure with liquidity pools that we manage with our own capital and our partners' capital. And in those networks, you are paying a small fee. So, for example, to go from Tron to Ethereum or from Tron to Ton, we're charging a 3 bips fee. It used to be 10. We're trying to reduce it all the way down to 1 as soon as possible. The amount of volume that infrastructure generates is order of magnitude inferior to USDT zero. On a week basis, USDT zero moves between $2 and $3 billion, napkin math. On a good week. Obviously, on a bad week, we stay around the 1.5, 1.8, while Legacy Mesh only moves between $100 million on those networks.
Only.
I mean, yeah, if you compare it to the bigger one, yes. Obviously, if you had told me 1 year ago that I would have been saying only 100 million, I would have probably insulted you or insulted myself. So, so yeah, basically, this is what we do. But to answer your question, how do we make money? Number one, USDT zero was not made to make money. USDT zero was made to make Tether 1% better. Our whole team believes that if we can contribute significantly and we can achieve growth in a certain way to make the best stablecoin in the world 1% better, we're going to find a way to monetize it potentially later on or in other ways, because growth is always the most important thing, right? Like, find a problem, find out how to improve that problem and how to make it better, and then the money-making part will come later. What we did find ourselves with, though, was the fact that USDT zero is a very expensive infrastructure to run. When you're securing 4.4 billion USDT, you cannot take any shortcuts when it comes to security. We have the 4th largest bug bounty in the world, where Layer 0 and Stargate have the 1st and 2nd. We offer around $6 million for anyone who's be able to find any kind of critical vulnerability in any of our smart contracts. We actually have a bigger bug bounty program than Tether's bug bounty program, which is very funny because if somebody finds, our contracts are built on the Tether contracts on the ERC20 side. So if somebody was to find a bug in that contract, we would pay more than Tether, which is, I think, very, very funny, but it is what it is. But we are an expensive infrastructure to run. We have a lot of audit costs. We have our bug bounties programs. We have insane amount of costs when it goes on infrastructure level, when it comes to compliance, know your transaction services, and so on and so forth. So what we usually do is that we work directly with the chains that we deploy on to basically get back our operational cost to be able to keep the lights open. But we are not focusing on, our goal has never been and will never be to maximize revenues. Our goal is to maximize Tether utility. If we can get there, we're going to find ways to monetize slightly later on. Tether has not been profitable for a lot of years before becoming the most profitable business in the industry. And we are very much aligned on that, which is also why, as I was telling you, we are always trying to reduce the fees when it comes to the native USDT deployments interoperability layer. We were at 10, we're moving it down to 3. We're hoping to be able to move it down to 1 by the end of 2026.
Very nice, very nice. Another topic I want to touch with you is, like I told you earlier, like, you know, most of like the content that we do, and like most of the stuff that I'm looking for, like as just like, you know, a DeFi enthusiast, revolves around decentralization. It revolves around like decentralized crypto, like the trustless force that we had, Polaris, whatever. I'm very curious as to your perspective on like USDT zero for that matter, like, and the decentralized stablecoins. Are they allies? Are they competitors? Like, is there a synergy there? Is it pure competition? Is there like cannibalism there? How do you actually view the balance between these? And like, in the long run, like how do the two coexist? How, the two sectors of centralized and decentralized stablecoin coexist?
I think we work very synergetically with one another. Meaning, the target market of USDT are the people that are not tech savvy enough to understand how decentralized stablecoin work. And if you're thinking about Africa, Latin America, APAC, and all of those places, most of those people, they cannot afford to test out new stablecoins, right? And my personal belief is that we still have not cracked the stablecoin trifecta that I was mentioning before. Every single decentralized stablecoin, the larger it grows, the more centralized it gets. We saw it with DAI and the PSM, where it was effectively backing at one point. I think it was 70% of DAI in circulation were backed by USDC. That's not a decentralization factor by any mean. And the ones that decide to remain fully decentralized, like Liquidity, like USD, have not yet managed to get to the scales of adoption that you need to conquer the rest of the world. A very wise man once told me that to get a stablecoin at peg at around $5 billion in market cap, it's something hard but still doable. Once you get above 8, it starts to become extremely difficult. And once you get above 15, 20, there's very few persons or entities in the world that can do it. Because if you manage to fail, if you fail and you have any kind of problems in your infrastructure, Luna was the perfect example. You have a lot of people with a lot of money that are gonna death spiral you to zero just to make a quick buck. So I think it's very important to first focus about the target group. The people that are using USDT are people that are maybe making $20 a week. If a stablecoin depegs seriously and you have all your savings, all your $20 that you earned this week in a stablecoin and that goes to zero, that's a responsibility on you. Those people cannot test out and try out new ideas. They need to have a product that is battle tested, that is easily redeemable, and that defends the peg like nothing else, which is why they end up going with USDT. But I am totally open to people testing out new stuff. I mean, I'm gonna get a lot of shit out because of this, but I really liked the first time I saw the Luna design. I immediately identified that it could have spiral, but I think it was a pretty interesting design. Algorithmic stablecoins are dangerous, but if anyone in the world would be able to actually find a way to build a resilient stablecoin that is not a CDP-backed stablecoin and that is not a fully centralized T-bills-backed stablecoin, that could probably be the holy grail. It's harder, but we should not give up on it. We should keep working on it and try to figure out if there are solutions that can work better. And are we cannibalizing each other? I don't think so. I think every large decentralized stablecoin right now probably would love to be able to backed by quite a lot of USDT, either in a CDP fashion or in other ways, because it's a very easy collateral to accept, and it's a collateral that everybody should want to do. And I think that the world is going more and more towards cooperation between decentralized stablecoin providers and fully centralized stablecoin provider like USDT is. I will say one thing though, is that I'm a big fan of decentralized stablecoin, but when your protocol gets hacked or you get stolen $10 million or anything of the sort, you always would have preferred in hindsight to have a centralized stablecoin that you could try to freeze. Freezing hacks is something that we take very dearly and that we always want to do. And that is something that unfortunately is only feasible on a fully centralized setup, because obviously if it's decentralized, nobody has the keys to freeze, and maybe the freeze function doesn't even exist, right? So both have pros and cons. I imagine a world where to each its own, if you will, right? Like no matter, depending on what you need, you're going to either use Liquidity or you're going to use Tether. And also depending on your risk factor, I would say. So at USDT Zero, we always love working with decentralized stablecoins. We think there is no better collateral to back your decentralized stablecoin than USDT, and there is no better stablecoins to have liquidity against than USDT. And we always encourage people to build synergies with us. And yeah, we really like the people that are building decentralized stablecoins.
Much respect. Just before we wrap up, I want to ask you one more thing. I know you have a lot of stuff still to do this evening. And thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, actually.
An honor. What can people look forward to from you guys in 2026, in the upcoming months? What are you at liberty to share? You gave you did share a touch of alpha over there that you said that you aren't allowed to share, but I'm curious, is there anything that you guys can already mention, discuss, or even just tease about what's coming up next from you guys in the upcoming months?
Yes, so I can share it, but really my marketing team will kill me because they're telling me, do not share the chains that we're going live on before we actually go live, because otherwise our whole announcement will get less reach. But we have a couple of big chains that we're launching in the next few weeks. Ideally, by mid-February, we're going to be live on 2 more EVM networks. And then 2026 will be the year where you're going to be able to see most non-EVM deployments for USDT Zero and XUSD Zero. So we're launching on a couple of very large network that I cannot share because I'm going to get killed. But hopefully by start of Q2, probably, you'll see the news and it will be very fun. So this is on the USDT Zero side of things. We're working extremely hard on XUSD Zero as well. We're planning on bringing XUSD Zero to at least 10 new ecosystem by the end of 2026. We're also having something that is slightly outside of our usual bread and butter, which is that we're working hard on getting XAUT more deeply integrated in DeFi. That requires a lot of building blocks. Nice. And we love building on EVM compatible networks, and we love building on chain. So we'll definitely, you can look forward for some big news coming from USDT Zero and Everdon, which is the company behind USDT Zero, when it comes to on-chain integrations of XAUT. And then expand to other Tether assets, to be honest. We launched the CHNT Zero, which is the offshore Chinese yuan Tether Zero earlier this year on Conflux. There may or may not be something in the works for a certain Genius compliance stablecoin that recently launched, and so on and so forth. And then the other big thing, the biggest part of our 2026 will be consolidation, right? Like we sprinted through 2025. We did everything we could to bring this technology to as many places as possible. And now in 2026, we really want to focus on each of our ecosystems and help them grow and help them be the best that they can be. And that can be as easy as building periphery products on top of USDT Zero. There's a couple of things that we're cooking also from a more technical savvy perspective that are very, very nice, that will make the experience of using USDT Zero way easier for centralized exchanges, for payment providers, and so on and so forth. And then we always like to strive towards increasing our security standards and just a lot of boring stuff that it's very, very important, which is optimizing the infrastructure, making sure that we can find ways to make USDT zero transfer between networks faster. Because getting from Ethereum to other chains takes 3 minutes, but getting from other chains back to Ethereum mainnet depends on the chain that you're originating your funds from. And some chains have been more battle tested than others. Takes 56 seconds from Arbitrum, takes slightly more from Mental, for example. So a big part of our focus will be to just make the USDT zero experience as seamless as humanly possible, so that the widest amount of Tether holders can enjoy it with the least possible amount of friction. I keep repeating this because it's kind of our mantra, which is remove friction from the ecosystem that we're working on. If we manage to do that, we'll be happy. Requires a lot of work, requires a lot of scaling, but we're definitely looking forward for it, and we're definitely looking forward to work with more like-minded people when it comes to this.
Much respect, man. I really think that it seems like you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you for that.
That's what you do.
Team's effort.
And that you're very much passionate about it and believe in what you do, which is always great to see. And I admire you and respect you for it. Lorenzo, I had a really good time and really enjoyed speaking to you for the first time. I hope it was okay for you as well. Much respect for what you guys do at USDT Zero and onwards, as they say. Looking forward to seeing some of the news once they are actually announced and the new chains that you guys are going to be on, and especially the new assets that you guys are going to bring to the cross-chain world for Tether. And I think that actually, I do think that Tether did a very smart move with you guys, with finding a go-to-market strategy for all these smaller markets for them, in order to really penetrate all these angles and bring their product there much more easily and efficiently than just go bridge this, that, find the liquidity pool. And I know I need to go. I would have asked you a few more other questions. I will save it for the next time.
I'd love to.
Really, man, thank you so much for coming. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
By the way, it was my pleasure.
Same here. Guys, go follow USDT Zero and Tether on X. Check out what's the website, by the way?
USDT0.to.
USDT0.to. Let me just share it on screen here for a second, guys. USDT0.to. You can go and start taking your USDTs anywhere, basically, and enjoy what all kinds of chains have to offer you guys. You can also check out Zero Law's X account at Zero Law, and the USDT Zero, of course, account, and Tether. And guys, of course, follow Leviathan News. Shout out to Bounce.Tech, by the way, our SQUID Pass holders. Let's give them another shout out just to wrap it up. Leveraged positions across, basically for all of finance, as they call it. Bounce.Tech, private beta, live now on Hyperliquid. Thank you so much for choosing Leviathan News and the SQUID Pass, guys. Another auction coming up soon, and we'll send you all away with the video by Arcus again. Shout out Arcus, ARQUS, Milama, as they say. So, Lorenzo, thanks again for coming, man, and have a great evening. Bye.
You too. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Cheers.
それはレバヤさんニュースだ。デセットライズだ。逃げろ。誰でも音できる。誰でもスキルを稼げる。ガバナンスまである。中集権のメディアはもう終わり。